She is Catwoman. Hear her roar. This is your look at the new Cryptozoic Entertainment Batman Returns Catwoman movie collectible. From the Batman Returns film, this 7.5-inch vinyl figure of Catwoman captures all her personality and details, including her iconic whip that made her the femme fatale so unforgettable. The vinyl figure of Catwoman was designed by Pedro Estudillo and sculpted by Anders Enverberg. Meow. Before we get a closer look at the new Catwoman movie collectible, obviously the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall the vinyl figure stands. So I'm going to take the tape measure right to the very top of her ears, well, the cat ears on her cowl. We're going to stop it right there. According to the readouts, the vinyl figure of Catwoman stands 7.6 inches in height. Let's switch that to centimeters, revealing that Catwoman, the movie collectible, is 19.4, almost 19.5 centimeters tall. And I'd also like to thank the folks over at Cryptozoic Entertainment that sent this early sample of Catwoman that we could have a look at in this review. She is slated to release in March 2021, so this month right now. Although I will say, checking around online, because my original plan was to pick this one up and order it online, I have noticed several websites have already since sold out in their pre-order. So if you are a big fan of Catwoman, specifically the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman from Batman Returns like I am, jump on board before you miss your chance grabbing this one, because I feel like a lot of people are going to want to get this one in their collection. With that being said, let's get a closer look at the figure. We're going to pick her up. And I want to first show you guys the display stand that Cryptozoic Entertainment decided to go with. Smart choice that they used the Shrek's department store kitty, as you can see right there. Now, in the film, I'm usually used to seeing the department store kit cats from Shrek's store being more of a white color. And I guess maybe one of the reasons why they didn't decide to do that is because when you look at the costume, there's already so much white incorporated into the stitch work. Black obviously would have been a no-go because you would have then lost the detailing on her whip and her outfit because, of course, she would have been attached to the display stand. I think purple is really the best choice of color that they could have gone with. I love, again, the fact that they decided to do something outside of just giving her a regular circular stand. Shrek's department store kitty is really the best one they could have gone with. Love the fact that they did do that. And, of course, from there, we can have a closer look at the vinyl figure of Catwoman. Played perfectly, you see what I did there, by actress Michelle Pfeiffer. Originally planned, I believe, to have our own standalone solo film that just never ended up happening. Instead, unfortunately, we did get ourselves the Halle Berry Catwoman. Let's never speak of that again. But I think Michelle Pfeiffer was a perfect choice for Catwoman, of course, in the Batman Returns film. Now here, she's presented with a slightly ripped cowl. Of course, if you watch the film, it's one of my all-time favorite. It is my favorite Batman movie. Her outfit gets quite torn to shreds. And near the end, of course, by that point, she's already got her hair sticking out from the cowl piece. You can see a whole lot of that incorporated here onto this vinyl figure. Personally speaking, I think this was the best route they could have gone. Because a lot of times, I don't want to really say a lot of times, because Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, really, when you think about it, has not gotten a lot of figures or collectibles. The few that they have done generally have Catwoman with just a full cowl, fully stitched and not damaged at all. I like the fact that they did decide to go with the one that had the slightly longer hair sticking out. Now, it's not to say I'm sure that they haven't already considered the idea of just releasing this one without the hair visible, because really they could use the exact same mold as what we're currently seeing right now, just 86 the hair. Just leave that off completely. But I like the fact that they incorporated the hair. It adds a little bit of something extra to Catwoman's face, which I might also say is a quite nice looking head sculpt. An equally nice paint job also incorporated to it. You can see the nice airbrushing of black done around the areas of her eyes. Though a more simplified styling of her face, she's got a real cute look to her face. You can definitely see there's a Michelle Pfeiffer likeness here. Now, I've been a big fan of the DC Bombshells vinyl figure line that they've also been releasing over the years. I like the fact now that we're sort of getting more movie tie-in characters getting the same treatment, because I feel like, especially when it comes to Catwoman, this styling works well for this character. Slightly larger head, slightly smaller body. Proportioned a little bit differently with the larger legs here, slightly more skinnier arms, but like I said, very large head, but really nicely painted. Like in the film, of course, she makes herself the costume. And you can see all the little stitch lines where she's sewn it together with white threading. Boy, does that ever look great. And of course, that's just the head. We can move down to the rest of the body, revealing slightly, torn areas to her costume. On the torso, the areas of her arms, for example, and on her legs. The flesh, of course, underneath that, peeking its way through. And that's a nice touch as well. Just love this coloring. Most of it, of course, is all black. But I got to believe that most of it probably has been painted anyways, even the areas that have been done in black. If anything, I could probably say as not a negative point at all, but like the coloring of the flesh seems slightly a little bit more, not pale, but slightly just off-colored. You can see a little bit of it here where it hasn't completely been painted against the surface of the vinyl. But still, like the rest of it, it's some fantastic sculpting. Of course, you got the tie-up areas on the back of the bodice, which again has that stitching done around the front. And she has what I'm guessing to be seam rippers, if I remember correctly, on the ends of her fingers. She's got all the little silver accented areas on the ends of her fingers, done on both sides. And of course, she's got her wielded whip in hand, which she makes short work of those mannequins, which actually was Michelle Pfeiffer doing that in the film. By today's standards, they probably would have just CG'd all of that. But the very fact that Michelle Pfeiffer trained and learned to use the whip and actually was able to cleanly take off those heads from the mannequin, it's quite a feat on her part. Speaking of feats, let's have a look at Catwoman's boots there. High heels as well as high laces going all the way up to about the areas of her knees. And again, I really like the coloring of this black. It's got a nice sheen to it when you've got the light hitting it the right way. The light is sort of just bouncing off all over the place when we're looking at this. Great looking head sculpt, great looking body, great looking Catwoman. Still, I feel like there is an opportunity there clearly to be had by Cryptozoic Entertainment. While I do appreciate the fact that they went this route, that they went with the non-obvious route of giving her the longer hair sticking out, I definitely feel like they could easily still make use of this mold. I mean, if they already have it in their inventory, literally just keep it the way it is. Keep the head sculpt the same. Maybe if anything, if you want, you could change the mouth maybe just to have a slightly different expression. But just slightly retool this head sculpt, remove the hair in its entirety, and then give us the other look of Catwoman without the hair being present. But either way, I mean, this is a great looking figure. I've been a big fan of the vinyl figures that Cryptozoic have been releasing over the years. Generally, I have been more into the DC bombshells because that's the stuff, of course, that's their bread and butter. But thrilled now to see that they're actually branching out from that and giving us other characters, specifically movie characters, specifically Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman here. Batman Returns still remains my favorite of all the Batman movies. Many of you probably already know that by now. Michelle Pfeiffer's portrayal of Selina Kyle in the film also marks my second favorite actress to ever play the character. You're then probably asking, well, who's your number one? Well, my number one slot is still set aside for Julie Newmar from the 60s Batman series. Oh, Julie Newmar. Michelle Pfeiffer, though, adding a dark demeanor to her Catwoman, slightly more different than the playful Catwoman we've seen in the past. When you look at her costume, for example, with all the seam openings, it sort of in a way represents her psyche, falling apart and coming loose over the course of the film. And as great as this look is, how many times have we gotten ourselves a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman anything? I could probably count on one hand the statues, the figures, and like I said, any collectible that we've gotten of Michelle Pfeiffer. Maybe a lot of it is just licensing issues. It's really a shame because we really deserve more Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. I mean, really, we were supposed to be getting that solo Catwoman film, and that sort of just fell apart at the seams. Similar seams to the ones that she's got in her costume. Of course, the swoop in and save the day is Cryptozoic Entertainment's release of Catwoman, the movie Collectible, presented perfectly. And there I go using that word again. She does have her whip in hand. Can't believe she actually knocked those mannequin heads off. Now, obviously, those heads were just loose already on the shoulders, but the idea that she trained and learned to use the whip and knock that off, nowadays that would have been all just done in CG. No, Michelle Pfeiffer don't roll that way. Those heads rolled because she learned how to use the whip. I also like, speaking of the department store that she raids, the fact that she's standing on top of a Shrek's department store kitty. That is a nice little touch. A nod, of course, to the film. Now, of course, they could have gone the route of giving us like a black stand, but yeah, there's already so much black going on in her costume anyways. I like the fact that they went the route of going purple, which, as you can probably see right now in these reviews, I'm a big fan of purple, so that works well for me. Thinking outside also the cowl, so to speak, they also decided to sculpt the head with hair sticking out from the seams. I like that. Because the other Catwoman, the very few that we've gotten in the past, generally don't have that happening. It's not to say that maybe down the road, maybe Cryptozoic can't release possibly even a convention exclusive or just like a separate standalone release of Selena Kyle without the hair sticking out. Even if the head sculpt is exactly the same as what we're getting right here. I already like this head sculpt. I think it could still work even well with the hair just removed, even if they just want to reuse the exact same mold time and time again. Thinking further outside the cat cowl, I would be certainly open to the idea of Cryptozoic expanding out their collection of Catwoman outside of just the Michelle Pfeiffer release. As much as I think this was perfectly done by Cryptozoic Entertainment, the idea of giving us more Catwoman, why not? Of course, we have 3 from the original 60s series, technically series, because if you look at it, there's Julie Newmar, which would be my number 1 pick, Eartha Kitt, and Lee Merriweather, who technically was more so in the Batman movie. Then, of course, we have Anne Hathaway from the Dark Knight Rises movie. And then, of course, we also have, we have Halle Berry. I guess somebody would be interested in a Halle Berry. Okay, who am I kidding? I probably would still collect them all. But Cryptozoic, I would be definitely open to the idea of doing more Catwoman vinyl figures. I don't know what licensing is available, if there are some difficulties involved going along with those lines. But for the time being, I'm just happy we finally get ourselves a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, because she looks oh so good. A big thank you again to the folks over at Cryptozoic Entertainment that provided the sample of Catwoman, the movie collectible that we could have a look at in this review. If you are interested in picking this one up in your paws for yourself, just know that this one is slated to release March 2021. So it's actually happening this month right now. I have noticed, though, as I stated in this review, checking around to the various online sites that had this one originally pre-ordered, the pre-orders have since sold out. So if you are a big fan of the Batman Returns movie, and specifically a big fan of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, you may want to jump the chance at getting this one before she disappears forever. And also for your video question for today, going along the lines of talking about my number 2, my number 1, my number 2 slot, who is your favorite actress to ever play Catwoman? Let me know down below in the comment section. I think my top 3, if I can think of actual characters, I would probably go, actress-wise, I would go with Julie Newmar, number 1, Michelle Pfeiffer, number 2, and number 3, I would probably go Anne Hathaway. I liked the way that she did her Catwoman. But who is your favorite actress to ever play the Catwoman character? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys are also new to this channel and enjoying all the content, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Be sure to turn on the bell notification. And yeah, make sure you come back to this channel regularly, because we're always looking at new things. If you guys also would like to go back and check out my previous Cryptozoic Entertainment reviews, there's a playlist assigned just for that. We can check out all the other smaller vinyl figures that we've had a look at, because of course up to this point I've been a big fan of their DC bombshells, so all those reviews will be there, as well as some of the other cool collectibles that they're producing as well. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys, so as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.